I just want to start by saying the ruthlessness with which Australia today turned a hazardous minefield into third graders bowling doorknobs is not a normal thing that happens in Australian cricket in Asia. Like this didn't used to happen. In Asia, when you're Australian, when it starts ragging, life spirals. The camera zooms into puffs of dust. We start talking about degrees of spin. You start receiving statistics about Asian spinners' home records, and those spinners are normally Ashwin and Jadeja. But that's not how it felt here. Instead, at Gaul, just finishing now, Smith and Carey got busy. They got proactive. They got reverse brooming and brooming. And the former, Smith, earns his chocolate because every time Smith scores 100, what you need to understand is that he likes to buy some chocolate and eat it. And the latter's star shines. And also he played at GWS. Sri Lanka had no answers. It's Friday night in Australia. We're back into the swing of things, corporate life, work life, Western democracy, end-stage capitalism styles, and we're cooing like pigeons. Australia finished the day 330 for 3. They lead by 73. Steve Smith's 120 red. Alex Carey's 139 red. They've put on a partnership of 239. Smith's made 36 test match hundreds now. Alex Carey second. Any kind of lead that Australia has counts for 2 mathematically now. It's amplified exponentially. It's a maths equation you understand when you go up the grades. So it's Nestle, it's Maxibon, it's GWS Giants. It's the perils and opportunities of sweeping. It's a clinic in overseas Asian batting. It's 2 blokes that are 100 red. Hello and welcome to TGC Solo tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hard solo. It's just Pezza. Doing it by himself. He goes his way. Let me deal with this in a completely casual way because that's all it requires. First, obviously, you get your quippy, uproarious speculation posted about his absence because it's appreciated and we love that. It's just it's good and people know what they're doing. He's off with a family matter. He's away with a family matter. We love him dearly. We value him dearly, and he'll be back tomorrow to entertain and titillate. That's actually his motto above his desk. And I'll be chronicling today's latest Australian dog walking with special emphasis on pay pigs. So a lot of the pay pigs out there. Hey, thanks to Smith Optics as he spits it out, which is obviously an apt brand name for what we saw today. One of TGC's greatest ever partners. I just want to put some context first out there before we get into the circle jerk over Smith and Carey, which is what they both deserve, no more, no less. Sri Lanka frustrated at the start of the day. The best Australia could offer couldn't knock over the blokes at the end as quickly as we wanted them knocked over. That's right, it's us today. Australia's done well. And they got the score up to 250-something. That's too many for us. The good word was 250 is going to be a really tough score. A really tough score for Australia. Sri Lanka's almost in front. I just felt like we were ravenous in Australia for a bit of shit tip play. We're hoping this was going to turn into shit tip. I thought the team needed to be challenged with some shit tip stuff. And it felt like for a second we were about to get it. Except that when Sri Lanka started their innings, their skipper, Dhananjaya, who's played 62 tests and taken 40 wickets at an average of 55 and a strike rate of 99.9, says, I might take the new rock. Here and see what I can get done. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit. Hetty is doing what he's doing, dances down the track, tries to pogo Nishan Perez's spin to the Maldives. He gets the cleanest, gentlest, most beautiful nick to Dhananjaya himself. It's a runner ball 20-odd. Hetty can do what he wants. Everybody knows that. He's good with the bat. He's good with the lid. Finger in ice. He's got a longer line of credit than Bear Stearns. Although don't look into that. Marnus comes out, and first ball Marnus was great. First ball, Marnus was great. It was a windscreen wiper swipe cover drive for 4, and it had the people asking the correct questions. Is this the intent he needed to show? Is it the intent he needed? I say with eyeballs popping out of my head in incongruous mixture of upper and lower case letters. The answer was no. Prabhashai Surya came on. He's doing the square spin, undercutting spin stuff. Basically, Australia's kryptonite. Once you see the Asian spinners come on, they're spinning the ball square or they're undercutting it. Some are going straight, some are turning. It's good night, nurse. I want to say for the last 30 years, minimum. And Marnus gets out in the way that's frightening. He's a metre away from it as it thuds into his pad. I wouldn't say he slalomed into it, but I would say the ball was somewhere very different to where his brain was. And that is like watching deception writ large. It is the personification of defeat. I'm going to come back to Marnus and what it all means. But my point is that like things were looking ominous at this point. Uzi and Smith steady. They beg questions. Do we need to respect older people more? Do we need to respect senior citizens and experience? Do we need to amend aged care policy? But the point is that we were entering into like a deck with your name on it territory. And that's not territory that Australia has ever been particularly good at arresting and turning around. You defend with your heart and your mouth, and you attack, judiciously or wildly, depending on how good you are. It's usually the latter. But yeah, the kinds of dismissals we were seeing, the way Head got out, the gentility of that Nick. Yes, he's a Gentile, probably the wrong word for the moment. And the way Marnus gets out, concerning to say the least. The threat level was there. Hey, shout out to Khawaja, by the way, who survived a really threatening Jaya Surya celeb appeal. The ball was pitching a metre outside leg. Now, for me, I'm good with that celeb appeal because I think that that conforms to mayhem and pandemonium theory of Asian cricket. It's very core to Asian cricket. You amplify chaos where possible through startling noises, movements, actions, feelings. That's a spiritual core of cricket in Asia. Asians who do that don't resile from it, and nor should they. Then when Khawaja was out, his across-the-line back pad looked absolutely salmon, Atlantic salmon trout. He reviews immediately so as to take one with him. That's his right. Perhaps he reviewed because Joel Wilson gave him out. We're into 4DHS areas where if Joel gives you out, it mustn't be out, etc. But it was so out, even Joel was right. Anyway, thanks, Uzi. But then Smudge is there. Steve Smith. His 4th ton in 5 tests. This one in extreme heat. Bradman's back, ladies and gentlemen. Rumours of his demise have been greatly exaggerated. That's who Mark Twain was talking about when he said that. He arrived today to what everybody thought, the good insiders of cricket, the ominous Greece of cricket. Those who read the play. Those who go, those who take pictures of it 2 or 3 days beforehand when the colour of the deck changes. Those who understand these conditions, get in and around these conditions. They had us know, and they were probably right, that Steve Smith was arriving to the crease to a badly degenerating ragger of a deck. And when Steve Smith left the field of play today, he was facing right arm help yourself 80k doorknobs. Now, why did that happen? How did that happen? Is that Smith? Is that Sri Lanka wilting in their own heat? I think it's the former. His baggy green adorned his head, ball 1. And there was a sense at the start of this innings that it hinged on him. And you get the feeling with all the statistics that are starting to arrive, he likes that. He likes when he's the skipper. And it does feel like it's been a little while since Smith has been like the out-and-out apex predator of the Australian team. But being the captain, baggy green on head, coming in when there's a problem, he's the man for all occasions in Asia. This was him in his own homeland mentally and frothing on it. Yes, he gets through another Joel special on 20-odd. Who doesn't? But I just wanted to say before it became the cakewalk, maybe not that word, the dog walk that it was, no Smith today, no party. Sitting behind him with his partnership with Carey was 3 blokes with 5 tests between them. Actually, I overstate that, 3.5 tests between them, coming out to a dusty ragger. Pretty important partnership. But Smith today just had that. He's back in the matrix. He's got that magician quality. He hypnotizes attacks and then bends them to his will. He's like a wallet wizard charging 47% interest after you've laminated your cat. Shout out if you get that ad. And now he reverse brooms now as well. He's added that to the arsenal. So I guess the main questions arising out of Smith's innings today is, what has he found? Because every year we've talked about, or he's spoken about, what he's lost and what he's found, He once was lost and then was found. It was Amazing Grace 5 years in a row. Hands, eyes, what is it? Now he's not talking at all. I did notice, I thought he was trying to take his own blood pressure, but he's wearing a Whoop sort of fitness apparatus. And I understand it's not endorsed by Cricket Australia as well. I think they're going to let it slide. Perhaps Steve Smith's got motivation again. Perhaps he's sleeping. Perhaps Steve Smith is sleeping. Hell of an endorsement for sleeping. But now the stats are just washing over you, just as stats are washing over me about the battery on my computer. But we're fine. Catches, runs in Asia, averages in Asia, runs as captain, hundreds generally. He deserved this. He deserved this. Second coming, proper second coming. He's the king of runs away as captain, 10 more than the next best, Lara. In other words, he was very good at batting before sandpaper. He surpasses Ponting for most runs in Asia by an Australian. That matters to us. Asia's an exotic, faraway place that we've never mastered. So when Savant himself is mastering it, we feel like Australia is mastering our own selves, and we have a long way to go. Khawaja in that list as well, so good to see them out there. So now we get to ask the positive questions about Steve Smith. It's not about the base of paint that he's covering his eyes. It's, can he make, will he go past the Ashes this year against England, which is who they play in the Ashes? Contrary to what many people on YouTube think from our highest population of followers. Can he get to India after that? Can he get back to England in 2027? Can he play forever? Nestle actually has a state-of-the-art factory in Panala, Sri Lanka as well. They should be getting in touch with Steve. They'll be at work after today. And as Muzz says on Patreon, the Lankans must be wondering when this corpse will stop twitching. Hell of a twitching corpse, Steve Smith. Alex Carey, did you know his middle name was Tyson? Alex Tyson Carey, second 100 today. Joss who? Joss who? An enormous opportunity for Carey. He's just watched his primary competitor in the test before take his chance coming in at number 5 on one of the biggest flatties of all time. And Carey says, your Jimmy Jack's done, Joss. I'll come in at 5 and I'll show you how it's done when it's tough. I'll show you how it's done when it's tough. Up in the nosebleed section there for keepers batting 5. Carey's batting style, I like it. Very modern. Perfect example of a guy who chooses to answer a question with a question, in terms of his batting strategy. That is, like more and more players choose not to adopt Bradman's art of cricket, which is like, if someone bowls you a good ball, here's how you play the blueprint defense. And if you play that defense enough, you'll ball them and then you'll score runs later. Today, technically correct resolute defense only allows bowlers to settle in a natural variation to do the damage. Everyone knows that. Everybody knows that. Carey bats like he's turning from a solid to a gas. He boxes clever. He's on the ropes. He's off the ropes. Conventional broom, reverse, down the ground. What's it going to be? You'll never know. I'm 2 steps ahead. I feel like Smith did that as well, batting off the front and back foots, reverse brooming as well. I thought it was a masterclass. It became so good that it then will turn into the Australian interpretation of the opposition being 4th grade. They weren't 4th grade when Australia was losing, but then after our players played well, they became 4th grade, so we looked down upon them. And the players themselves, individuals, Carey and Smith, don't get to take any credit out of this. The opposition was shit. That's actually the paradox, the catch-22 of being good at cricket. You're actually not. But this was just an exhibition of busyness, of proactivity, of being several steps ahead. And, there's good old Lukey Sparrow in the crowd. Loves his cricket, loves his flags. And there's a boxing kangaroo that looks like a sex toy. Everything's coming up Australia. Smith and Carey had them absolutely at sea. They had no idea what to do. That's the best of Smith since his regeneration. It's his second or third coming. Just let it wash over you. It's the only advice I can give. Hey, shout out to Smith Optics as well. Again, an apt name for today. Let me get some of these shades on. All I want to say is, there's clearly, this is a shout out to David, by the way, who runs Smith Optics. David, there's clearly one bloke you need to get in these. Okay, after today. It's the obvious thing to discuss. Smith's already shown he's open to evolving his entire being. He's wearing a Whoop now to take his blood pressure and his sleep stats. He's got the reverse broom out. Can you get him in Smith Optics for the World Test Championship final, or the West Indies, or the Ashes? It will certainly make this integration a hell of a lot more symmetrical, I suppose. It will please a certain sect of people who enjoy Rubik's Cubes. Shout out Smith Optics, one of the grey cricketer's greatest ever partners. And get around him. Hey, just on Marnus, he's officially under pressure. And it was pointed out to me by a shrewd UK journalist that it's actually a part of Australian cricket teams going well. Like in the Steve Waugh era, you can destroy everybody, but someone still has to be in the crosshairs. This is what was said to me. And I think it's correct. Now it's Marnus' turn. He's officially under pressure. It wasn't meant to be like this. The macro issue in the Australian cricket team is about moving on the ancient players and bringing in the youth. That's not meant to be Marnus. He's meant to be the guy. He's not meant to be the guy making way now, as everything's changing. It's meant to be the guys who are 35 plus, but they're busy making double hundreds and rediscovering their place in the matrix at the moment. Marnus has a problem. You will hear people say, when we're talking about the World Test Championship final, what does playing a new ball flying saucer from Prabath Jayasuriya in Gaul have to do with facing Rabada et al. At Lords? And the answer is probably nothing. The problem is that Marnus is going series after series without winning a game for Australia off the bat. He's made contributions. I'll come to that. He's Australia's number 3. There are throbbers waiting to come back into the side. I think the selectors, Bailey, who is a disgrace, head on a pike, swivel it around, do what you need to do, watch the blood. I think they will give him all the time in the world, personally, because they see him as part of the next iteration of the side, and there's no one really knocking on the door for that specific number 3 spot. But he does need runs in the West Indies. Let's have it right as we revise history. His century at Old Trafford in 2023, it feels like a long time ago. Maybe it was. People don't really remember that because they were asleep. Right, but that was absolutely critical to Australia retaining the Ashes. That was his last important 100. I think actually his last 100. He did find a way to contribute amid the Bumrah firestorm. He had runs at Adelaide to help head. He had runs on Boxing Day to set it up. Both games they won. It would have been great if he went on with that. You've got to ask yourself. I'm just putting the bull case forward for Marnus because no one else will. Who are the contenders who bat at 3? I have seen it suggested that Josh English, I should say, sorry, that I believe that is his new name, should be at 3. I don't think you're going to see him batting above 5 in Australia ever. And someone's saying Smith should bat at 3. Smith doesn't move ever again. Learn your lesson, if that's your thought. He never moves now. Cameron Green's probably his biggest contender for that position, but he's never batted 3 for Australia either. And he's busy doing everything else. So it's not so simple. Marnus needed to cash in that last test, but he didn't. And I guess you got to ask yourself, was Brayshaw right? Was James Brayshaw right? Is it 2s and 3s at Redlands now? Does he need a break from the game? Can he take a break from the game? Can Mark Taylor tell him to get the golf clubs out? That kind of thing. Hey, we're up to hashtag AskTGC. Thanks for sticking with me while I push through this important review of day 2 from Gaul in the second test on February 7. Of a very long summer. Hakuna Rajaja says, is this the same Kamara that didn't know that there was a red card at Fratton Park? I believe so. Stephen Hawking Bucket on Bont says, do you think that Kez has told the Pom, Joss English, to think again about having his keeping spot? Hell of a riposte, I would have thought. Coke Dick Cocksleeve says, why didn't Carey just try sweeping Bumrah? Food for thought. There are perils of sweeping, as we know. Frankston Line Cricket Enthusiast asks me to please rank in order: tall runs, sexy runs, big four runs, eyes painted on runs. Okay, yeah, I'll go 1 to 4. Big four runs, sexy runs, eyes painted on runs, and tall runs. Like harsh on tall runs. It's more about the others appealing to me. I've got nothing against tall runs, but yeah, big four, sexy, eyes painted on. That's what it's doing for me. Sentence I never thought I'd say. 2 chat says, Alex Malcolm in studio and a smudged ton in baggy green inside a week. I yearn for this safety. Yes, you and me both. I'm certain the feeling inside the group is a positive one right now in Gaul. Here goes Double Samurai Ponytail says, Sri Lankan bowlers are tired from bowling all day with paces slowing down to low 70s. Is there no Bondi to Bronte or surf lifesaving in Gaul? How would Kingy go on this deck? I'll take that as a rhetorical question. It's not really for me to answer. I do think the Bondi to Bronte. It was actually, the thing is, John Lewis said Bondi to Coogee, not Bondi to Bronte. He may have even said Coogee to Bronte. What direction was he walking? That's the sort of thing that's going to start to get mucked up as time goes on. And it won't bother that many people. Finally, did somebody say AFP? Said to play AFL well, you need to have a basketball background. To play cricket well, you need an AFL background. Well, that's exactly right. That's just an insight into Australian cricket. Whenever anybody does well, you have to look at the sports that they chose to give up to play cricket. Cricket's always a fallback in Australia. And, you know, may that continue on with Alex Tyson Carey in particular, with an unbelievable innings today, but off the bedrock of Steve Smith becoming Bradman again. We get to watch Steve Smith be Bradman one more time. I say enjoy it. Hey, thanks for sticking with me. He goes, we'll be back tomorrow, as I said, to entertain, to titillate, not necessarily in that order. I hope you stick with us as well as Australia pile on the runs. They demolish everybody in sight. We revise all history so that we feel good. It's triumphalism plus in Australia right now. You have to enjoy it while you can. It will turn. When it turns, our business actually has an uptick. This is actually not a good time for our business. We yearn for chaos. We yearn for corruption, cheating, a different kind of triple C. But it's all in the name of commerce. Hey, I don't really know how to sign out because I've never done it before. So why don't I just go, cheers.